All right. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for taking the time for joining us here at Cosmic Matters. And I am Matt Washington. I created the This Matters video series to bring you a different perspective on the world and hopefully spend a little time on the Sunday to entertain your brain. So I am working on a couple different projects coming up for 2026, which should be exciting. I'm going to be launching the Bright Futures project as well. We will be keeping Cosmic Matters for our Sunday brain tease, I guess we would call it. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot more talking about, and it actually kind of leads into today's conversation. But I'm going to be talking more about Tesla and investing, and Bright Futures is going to be about making educating people and making a community to help everyone hit their financial wealth goals and just life goals in general. So excited to work on that. But for today, as I was working on that, I came across, so by the way, I hope everyone had if you celebrate Christmas and Hanukkah, I hope you had a good holiday with the new year coming up. We all have our New Year's resolutions that we should be working on, looking for the new year, the upcoming year. As I said, I'm going to be starting Bright Futures, that business, and so I'm excited to talk about that. But since we're looking into the future as we go into the new year, and as I was doing some research and for my latest venture, I fell upon a video that I'm going to be showing a little while, which is Farzad, who had a conversation with Elon Musk on X. And the conversation on X was, hello, Sarasona. The conversation that he had on X was kind of what I want to talk about today, because I've had this conversation. I've been talking about humanity after money, or the non-need for money coming soon for years. I remember particularly, it must have been around mid 2000s, 2005, 2006, somewhere there in that range, where I was down in Florida talking about this and this concept of universal basic income. This was before AI. I mean, AI was always been something that people talked about, but it wasn't something that was as prevalent as it is today. And as far as what I was talking about at the time is that, the concept of money is only needed as a source of measurement of wealth. And wealth and money are two different things. People think that money is a necessity, but humankind lived for millions of years without the invention of money. Money is there to keep an accounting. The true wealth is a combination of three things: of intelligence, resources, and time, right? And so those three things are what money is measuring, just like inches are a measurement of length, right? But there are no inches, and there really is no money. Money is it's just a concept. It's like I said, it's a measuring stick. It's like inches. It's like any other word that we use for anything else. The true thing is the resource, or our time, and that we are measuring out, and we're saying, I will give you a certain amount of time or resources or intelligence in exchange for money, because you might have some things that you might be in need of me teaching you something, or me giving you some bread, and you might be in need of bread, but I might not be in need of hammers if you make hammers, right? So instead of you having to go someplace else and sell your hammers and to get some, and I say I need fish, so instead of you having to go down, get some fish for your hammers and then bring the fish to me for the bread, money just makes it just is a nice measuring of, here's what hammers are worth, and here's what fish is worth, and here's what breads are worth, and we just make a concept called money, right? So And money is necessary when there is scarcity, right? So I have a degree in economics, and all economics is a study of it's a study of scarce resources. That's what economics is. And economics is only needed when resources are scarce. If we have no economics of air, right? Because air is not scarce, right? No one has to come up with how do we dole out air. Now, if air became hello, we have some people join us. Oh, and I got a message already. I didn't even see that. Oh, hey, what's up, Worm? So let me take some messages. But we are on stereo, and we are how society allocates. Yes, right. Which is what we're going to talk about. How we allocate those resources, and once the resources are not scarce, then there's no need to allocate them. But let's play. So we are in stereo under Philosophy Man 76, and here we're not on TikTok today. I got to figure out TikTok and how it works. But let's hear what Morm had to say.
Morning, Daddy. You talking about money? Are you talking about cash money? Cash money. I assume so. Hope you're having a good morning.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm talking about cash money, not making money. We're talking about once we are past money, once our society is in need of money. And we're going to have a little video here from Farzad, but I'm just doing a little preamp. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but just talking a little bit before we dive into that video, because what's happening now. So again, my point being is, as resources are scarce, then we need money to dole out those resources, right? To give an accounting, to get away from the barter system. But if we get to the point where resources aren't scarce, then the need for the money is no longer necessary, right? Where what's going to be addressed in this conversation, I'm going to pull up in a minute in the video, is what happens if we can make robots and AI that can make everything that we need. This is what we're talking about. Andrew Yang, who was somebody I actually, one of the people I wanted to be able to get into the presidential run. I would have voted for him. Already had started us on this path. He wanted to talk about universal basic income, right? And so the concept is, we have technology that's coming that every new technology, people get worried because they're like, oh, it's going to eliminate our jobs, right? And we need jobs because we need jobs. Why do we need jobs? Well, we need jobs to make money. Why do we need money? To buy things, right? Well, if things weren't scarce, then you don't need to buy things, right? So what is coming down the pipe here is the robots, humanoid robots and AI, and not just humanoid robots, but non-humanoid robots. Like right now down in Austin, Texas, Tesla is driving around the robo taxis, right? Where you just get in and go. And for someone who drives Lyft from time to time, that job's going to be gone. And by the way, good. Right? Like there's times like I was driving around for a while, and I have some issues with my eye, but I needed to work. I needed to make money. So I was driving around, and it was it probably was less safe. Let's just put that. It wasn't dangerous, but it was less safe. And people driving is probably like, I remember looking this up. It's like something like 40,000 on average, anywhere between 40 to 50,000 people die a year in car accidents. And that is regardless of how safe that's been true since like the 1970s, 1960s, because humans are just bad drivers. Now, the 1960s and 70s, when I started looking this up, I'm like, all right, 40,000 people died. It must be going down with all the things that we've done, because it used to be able to, I remember watching Mad Men, and they're just drinking scotch as they're driving, right? Like we've had all these advances in cars where you can't be drinking and driving anymore. We have airbags now. It's mandatory that you wear seatbelts. Like we have all these, there's the speed limits and all these things that we've put into place to save us, and yet the same amount of people die every single year because we are just bad drivers. We have blind spots. We don't pay attention. We fall asleep as humans. We're angry. We go and drive that. We have egos, and we're racing and speeding, as far as it goes. And now, and the number one reason now is texting, texting while driving or distracted driving. So, we're eating food, we're listening to the radio, we're getting heated conversations with each other, again, intoxicated, all these things. And, and it's still 40 to 50,000 people die. And that's deaths. That's deaths. Now you put on top of that all the injuries. People have permanent injuries and back injuries and neck injuries, and you throw all that in, and you're going up to a lot more. And then all of the just the damages that are done, and the money that is spent, and the hospital bills, and the even if you don't have permanent injuries, just injuries in general, or the amount of money that's spent because of car accidents. So the concept of a robotaxi driving the car, like, now people, just like every technology, are worried at first. They're like, oh, it's not as good as me. I'm like, I drive around. Look, next time you go driving and you come to a stoplight, just look around at the other people. See how many people are doing their hair, or eating a sandwich, or yelling at the kids in the back, or just not, or texting. Most of them are looking down at their phones a lot of times. And so the idea of a robot that is programmed, its only mission is to keep you safe, is to drive, right? And we have two cameras, our eyes, and a neural net, our brain, which drives a car. And we have billions of people who are able to do this. And this is what Tesla is doing. Particularly, they're not using LiDAR and radar and all these other things. They're just saying, let's make an AI with neural net. We teach it to drive a car, and it gets better and better and better, and it increases as time goes on, right? And so right now, I would say the autopilot driving, it was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, the robotaxi was like maybe like a 16 or 17-year-old driving a car. And now it's gotten to the point where now the more experience it gets, the better it gets. And it's going to get safer than humans easily. Why? Because we have two cameras, and we have all these emotions and all these other things going on. And the robot doesn't. The robot has 8 cameras. It's looking in all directions. It doesn't have any blind spots. It's not angry at its wife. It's not drinking. It's not tired. It's not anything. It's just driving, right? Now, if you think about, if we're just talking, I don't want to go on a whole only thing about robotaxi. Oop, got another message. Let's play the message before I get my next thought out here. Worm?
All right, to play off your logic, you're saying that there will be a time after money, as there was a time before money.
Yes.
You're also saying that you only need economics to allocate resources when resources are scarce. So are you implying that resources are scarce now, but in the future they won't be as they were in the past?
Yes.
Let me know.
Yes. Well, in the past, the resources were scarce in the past. We just didn't have money because we didn't, as humans, we came together in like communities, right? And we was just the community. We would go out and hunt stuff. And, if you look at actually how, until agriculture came around, until like actual farming, the necessities were, there wasn't scarcity because of the fact that we needed each other to survive for millions of years, or at least a couple of hundreds of thousands of years. And so there was no idea of like, we have a blacksmith and we have a this and we have a that. It was just us in the Sahara and in the mountains and as groups of people, collective groups of people. But as our numbers started increasing, and we could specialize things, and our technology became better, the need for money came about. Now, in the future, I'm on the robotaxi thing right now. I'll get back to that question because that's something that we're going to do in the video. But as far as in the future, yeah, the idea of, and right now I'm just talking about the cabs, but I'm going to get to everything when we talk about the humanoid robots. But just thinking about the driving, transportation, right? The way of getting around, right? It's going to change everything. It's going to change how we make houses, right? Because you don't need a car. Like, think of all the expense that goes into owning a car, right? And again, you got to think of a mindset of someone who we're talking about the future. I'm talking about right now. Like right now, we're like cars, they define us in certain ways, right? Especially as Americans, right? We drive a lot. I like to watch this. There's this group of this British guy who talks about traveling through America and the difference between America and Great Britain, right? And one of the things he talked about was like us driving in snow, and he's like the Americans, they're out there, they're turning their lights off during snowstorms, trying to guess which lane it is. He's like, Brits, we don't do any of that. Like, we don't even go out. Like, we start sanding the roads if there's like an inch of snow, and we're not going anywhere. And then they talked about how he's like, Americans drive like a typical commute. He's like, they'll drive for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I remember when I was down in Texas, and I was in Houston, and a friend of mine who lives in Dallas was like, oh yeah, I'll come down and we'll have dinner since you're here. And I was like, okay, when are you gonna be? She's like, in 3 hours. I'm like, 3 hours? Like, you don't, like, she was just like, yeah, I'll drive down. And I'm like, are you gonna stay over? She said, no, I'll drive down, we'll have dinner, I'll drive back. I'm like, you gotta be insane. Like, you gotta be kidding me. But that was just her reality, because Texas is so big, America's so big. We're just used to driving long distances for long amounts. It's just normal. An hour commute for us is normal. In other places of the world, they're like, that's crazy. Why would there's no way I would do that. So we as Americans have identity around our cars, right? Like, we have, I'm a Ford guy, I'm a Chevy guy, I drive this, I drive that. Cars are a big deal to us, and so it's good. So we have to take our mentality out of this and look at what's going to happen in the future. Because that will go away, just like horses. There's still people who own horses and like horses, but nobody really, it's not like you need to learn how to ride a horse, and people aren't going to need to learn how to drive. Because it's like right now, Waymo, for example, has about 2,500 cars on the road, and they're in like 3 or 4 cities. I think they're in like Austin, San Francisco, and Phoenix, and maybe one other if I can't think off the top of my head. But they have 2,500 cars. Tesla is makes 2,500 cars in half a day. They make about 5,000 cars a day, and like their idea is, we're going to make so many cybercabs, and they're cheap. And then what happens is, when they flood the market with those, once they're okay, again, not next week, not next year, but we're looking into the future. Someone told me the best way to predict the future is to study the present. Well, Elon Musk's pay package is based upon how many robotaxis are out there. Their whole company is based upon it. So this is what they're doing. Like, and I just saw a video. They had 2 of the cybercabs. The cybercabs just have 2 seats and no steering wheel and no pedals. Like, it's just you get in and go, right? These cybercabs didn't, because they're still in testing, but that's what's going to end up happening. And why don't people do that now? Like, why do people don't take Uber and Lyft everywhere right now? Well, the reason why is too expensive, right? Well, what's the most expensive part of having a driver? Like, if you could have a driver that would drive you to work, drive your kids to practice, like if you could just hire a chauffeur, right? That's like a fancy, you have a lot of money, you have a chauffeur, you don't drive. Well, why don't people do that? Well, because it's expensive, right? And so what happens though is, if there's no driver and the car can drive itself, right? So now you can make that cost extremely low, especially if you're using electricity instead of gas to drive the car. So now you have a car that's very low maintenance, doesn't need oil, doesn't need gas, doesn't have transmissions, doesn't have half the things that could break down in if you ever seen a electric car engine versus an ICE car, internal combustion engine. It's much different. So now you have all these things, and you can lower the price, right? Like right now, I was actually talking to someone. I was given a ride and to the airport, and it was like I think it was paying like $100 and something to the ride to the airport. And he was telling me, I would never I wouldn't feel safe. I wouldn't feel comfortable. He was like, I don't have any control. I'm like, you don't have control now. I'm driving. Like, if I just had a heart attack, what were you going to do? You're in the back seat. You have no control right now. And guess what? Computers don't have heart attacks. And so, but I told him after that conversation, I said, well, he's like, I wouldn't do it. I said, well, what if this ride only cost you $10 as opposed to $100? He's like, oh, yeah, maybe okay, that might change my mind, right? And so if you think of people with cars now, a car expense to have two cars or even just have one car, what are you paying? People are paying 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. I've seen people with $1,000, $1,100 a month payments on their car, right? And then on top of that, now you have insurance, which is another $300 or $400 a month. And then on top of that, now you got gas and maintenance of the car. So if you could just have a car, if you can have an app on your phone, and anytime you wanted to go somewhere, you just press the button, and within less than a minute, there would be a car that would drive you wherever you want. And you could, and if you could you don't have to drive your kids to school, you don't have to drive your kids to soccer practice, you just put them in the car, and then there's a little video, there's a camera in there, you could see the kids right in the car, you probably talk to them through the car on their way there, on the way back. And if you have to go on a long trip, if you have to take a family vacation, everyone jumps in the robovan, as they're calling it, which is the robo van, and you rent that out. And it would get to the point, it's like, when you have a car, like I have a car, and even when I'm doing like Lyft and whatnot, when I decide to do that, I'm still not using the car half the day. If there's 24 hours in a day, I'm sleeping for 8, right? So that's a quarter, right? That's a third right there. So there's so much time that you're not using your car, that you're spending all this money on. And there'll be a lot of people, once this is a widespread thing, and by the way, this is all getting to the point of not needing money, but I'm just using a small example, a small paradigm of what's going to be coming when the actual robots and AI come. But now people are just going to be like, well, why am I going to buy a car? There's no need. It's like people who live in New York City. They don't have licenses, right? I have lots of friends from the city that don't have a license because they're just like, what do I need that for? And so that's what's going to end up happening. It's like, well, what people are going to be like, why am I have a garage. I have this whole space in my house that I pay for to put a car in. I got to shovel out and I got to do all this stuff and I got to do all this work and pay all this money for it. Why not just not have the car? Why do I need this? And it's so much better. And by the way, what the cool thing with the Teslas is like, okay, you have the app, you don't have to deal with the person in the car, which is also annoying. You don't have to listen to their music, or if they smell, or if they're in a bad mood, or if they want to be chatty, or you don't have to deal with that. All right. So you're not dealing with a person. And it's costing you, a tenth of what it costs right now, and they're still making profit. And I don't have to pay all that insurance and all that stuff. So what's going to slowly happen is people are going to go from like 2-car, 3-car families to maybe 1 car. It's like, I'll have it then. And then there'll be another generation that's just like, there's going to be a time, probably not the next generation, probably like the people who are in their 20s and 30s right now, their grandkids will be like, hey, grandma, tell me about the time where you would actually sit behind, like, so when you were like 20 years old, they would let you get in behind like a 4,000 pound thing and drive it like 60, 70, 80 miles per hour while doing your hair and listening to music. They would just let kids do this. They would just let anybody do this. And 40,000 people died every single year, and they just let it happen. That's crazy. Like, that's what they're going to, that's what's going to be there. It's going to be it would be like us talking to our family members from the 1920s. So like, oh, so you had to learn how to shoe a horse or something like that, our great grandparents, so that dichotomy of that whole industry of owning a car, right, is going to go away, right? And transportation is going to become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper as there's just getting from one place to another. And it's not going to completely go away, but that's just as far as like money, that's not going to eliminate money, but it's eliminating an industry. So now you take that to robotics and AI and all the other things that are going to go away. Oh, I got a message here. Let me play that before I switch to my new topic here. Serotonin. Let's go.
Good morning. To your point about self-driving cars or robot cars, whatever you want to call them, and these long commutes, I've always wondered what we would do with, especially like LA people, or I think about them because of my brothers, or I mean, even my dad, gosh, at one point had an hour commute to work and back when I was a kid, and so like if he had a self-driving car, what would he have been able to do to like redeem the time? Gain an hour of sleep.
Yeah.
Relax, read a book, whatever. That's what I always wonder, what will happen if we actually do let go of the car thing and start utilizing it as if people can redeem the time, and hopefully we won't use it as more time to do work.
Yeah, well, we will get to the point. Great point. Something that when you said that made me think also, that's going to change parking lots. Think of how much land we use for parking lots. All that land will be gone because people will just be like, let me just get a car that drops me off and leaves. You won't need parking lots. You won't need the amount of space. At the mall that's by me, they literally will have a carnival going on in the mall, in the parking lot so big, but they need it during Christmas time. Like they need it during the holiday time. But the rest of the year, it's just all a bunch of wasted land, and no one ever parks in ever. They have a whole carnival there at certain times, and there's still plenty of spaces to park at the mall. So you think of all the parking lots and all the congestion that's going to eliminate, because you just get the car, it drops you off. And when I was working for Tesla, this was back in 2018, you don't understand how much energy you're using by driving a car, especially in traffic. And I can only imagine in California, just the subconscious energy that you didn't realize. Because I remember I worked without traffic about 40 minutes from my house, but with traffic, because I would work at the Tesla store, and it would take me about typically an hour and a half to get home, but at a time in traffic. But at the time when this wasn't full self-driving, it was just the autopilot that came out, and all the autopilot would do was keep you in your lane. It would keep speed and distance from the car in front of you, and if you wanted to change lanes, you'd have to click the blinker, and it would change lanes safely. That's all it did. Didn't go off the off ramp. You wouldn't sit, it wasn't like sit in your driveway, press a destination, and it would take you like it does now. But that's all it did. So I just started using it. Now, the first time I videoed it, and it was like, oh my gosh, like I was like ready, had my hands ready all the time, feet ready all the time. But I will tell you, after maybe a couple days of using it, I realized I wasn't going to die. I just let it do its thing, and I got used to it really quick. And I didn't know what it was, but I just remember being so refreshed when I got home. Like I didn't have to like go to bed immediately, or I wasn't like exhausted. And I didn't realize what it was. Until later on, until looking back, and I was like, holy mackerel, because again, if you're in stop and go traffic, you're constantly paying attention. Like your brain is constantly being engaged with, don't hit the car in front of me, gas pedal, brake pedal, gas pedal, brake pedal, gas pedal, brake pedal, right? So I just didn't realize how much energy I was expending of just from driving in traffic, right? So this is going to happen, and I didn't want to do a whole. The point of today is not to talk about robotaxi, but this is the next step of that, is going now into robotics and going into the humanoid robot that can do all of these jobs. And once there is, the restrictions, that the reason we need money is because of the scarcity of resources and energy and time. Well, now you take robots, and robots don't have like the time part of it. Like they don't care. Like they'll work constantly. Like the biggest part, the biggest cost of almost every company out there, majority companies, is labor cost. because you have to hire people, you have to train people. If they don't work out, you got to retrain people. You got to spend all this time, setting them up, doing the health insurance, paying the taxes on them. There's all kinds of stuff. And then they get sick, they're not in a good mood, they're not efficient, they need holidays, they have, there's all kinds of stuff that happens with dealing with people. Robots don't do that. Robots don't have a bad day at home. They don't come in a bad mood. They don't make errors. They don't get tired. They don't need a lunch break. They don't need Christmas off. they don't need weekends off. They don't need to stop doing whatever they're doing after 8 hours. They can work for as long as they have energy. They can work, and you can set it up so that they can constantly have energy. Like, you have a battery that's attached to them, and you can have a different robot that just walks around and changes the batteries on the robots while they're actually working, right? Like I always have, every time I talk about this, I have somebody that's like, well, who's going to fix the robots? I'm like, the robots. You can have a robot that will fix robots. That's like, why do you think that humans are that important? That a robot can't figure out how to fix it itself? Either you fix it itself, or you have a robot that fixes it, maintains everything, or a robot supervisor. And so now when you have that extra time, now you go from someone who's working 40. I mean, I watched this thing on Elon a while back, and they asked him about like, for like kids, if like, what would you, for students or people who want to be entrepreneurs, they asked him what kind of advice did he have, and he's like, just work 100 hours a week, to get things started. He's like, because if somebody's working 40 hours a week and you're working 100 hours a week, you're going to move ahead 2.5 times more than they are, right? So if you work 100 hours a week, you're basically going to do what they do in 1 year. You're going to be 2.5 years ahead of them, or something like that. It did the math. So now but humans can't sustain that, right? Well, only a certain few autistic, crazy humans can sustain that. But robots can. Robots they can work 120 hours a week. They can work 150 hours a week. So, I'm taking some time off from maintenance and fixing them up, but they could work 168 hours a week, and you could program to like it. Like the car driving is not like, oh, I'm a slave to driving the AI. It's just a computer program that's like driving AI, or just driving a car. The robot could just love doing it. It doesn't have like, oh, my quality of life is not good. That's not how it thinks. All right. So you just program it to do the job that it's going to do. So now the time concept, you take when I talk about scarcity of resources, right? So now you're giving everyone back their time, right? Now, I listened to an Alan Watts thing about this, and he said people will ask, like, how do you pay for this stuff? Like if everyone's jobs go away, right? If you have these robots, you have technology and AI that's doing all the jobs, who pays for it, right? And the answer is the robot pays for it. Like the robot is what's paying for it, because there's going to be a transition. It's not like robots are going to come out and then money disappears, the next day, because we have to transition. And I've thought a lot about this because I've had people ask me, like, it's one thing, especially if you listen to like an Elon who talks about it. He talks about like there won't be universal basic income. It's going to be universal high income. Like he's like, because everybody will be able to get everything that they want because the robots can make it, right? Like the only reason why Lamborghinis cost as much is because it takes so many hours and craftsmanship and whatever to get that done. But if a robot can spend all day doing it, then they can make Lamborghinis all day long. But who really wants, if anyone's ever ridden in a Lamborghini, Lamborghinis aren't very comfortable. The only reason people buy them is to say, look, I have an Lamborghini and it goes really fast and it's status symbol. But if everyone can get it, then no one will want it because it's not a status symbol anymore, right? You wouldn't go, oh, you have this really uncomfortable car that goes really fast that no one drives, right? People don't drive anymore. And so it's like, I can have one too. Why would you want a Lamborghini then if everyone can have one, right? So any kind of like status symbol, this is what humanity is going to have to go through, is understanding how do we view ourselves? how do we give ourselves meaning if it's not in our job and it's not in money, right? How do we classify ourselves? Money is not the thing that's driving us, right? That's a whole nother talk. I don't want to go into that right now. But there's going to be a transition, right? And so the first step is the robots will be bought. By the way, this is going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just the way we're going. Like, even they can't stop this. Why? Because the way our systems are already set up, companies want this. Robots want that. They want to get rid of the labor force, because again, labor is the most expensive thing for most companies, the most challenging thing for most companies. So if we can replace everyone, and by the way, it's not like an evil thing. It's so funny that we look at that as evil. Like, even as I said that, I was like, ooh, the evil corporations trying to get rid of people and their jobs. It's like, you don't want these jobs. These are jobs you shouldn't want. We shouldn't have humans out there picking corn all day long. It's a thing that can be done. And again, the reason we look at it as evil is like, oh, you're taking their jobs away, and their jobs are necessary for them to have money so they can survive. And the point being is, you don't need that. If the robots can pick enough food, make all the food that we need, then you don't need to go get food. If the robots can make as many houses, like we don't like make as many houses as we need, then you don't need to spend all this money on houses. You don't need to take out a loan for houses. Is for shelter, as far as it goes, which already exists, by the way. Like, I look this up all the time, but there's already, like, if we took every homeless person and all the empty houses, all the vacant houses in America, I think that, like, every homeless person could have 6 houses. But we don't do that because money, right? Our monetary system won't allow us to do that. They shouldn't have these houses. We'd rather them sit empty and have people living in the streets than just give them a house, because I had to pay for my house. I worked hard for my house, and why should they get a house and I didn't get my house? Well, good. Now everybody can have a house. The robots will build whatever you want at any time. We're going to get to the things that if you're sitting there thinking, well, this is what the Farzad, I'm going to get to that with the Farzad video in a minute about the things that can't be built by AI and robots, but we're going to talk about that in a minute and getting rid of money. We got another message here. This
sounds like robot communism to me. Listen to that. Mecha Stalin.
It's not, because communism, right? There are no more financial in this scenario. I'm saying there are no financial situations, right? Because communism and capitalism or socialism, communism is just a form of socialism, right? Meaning that the government controls everything. This is not the government controlling everything. We wouldn't say people breathing air is communism, right? It's just there's just enough air for everyone, all right? So the same thing with producing food. Like, there would just be so much food that there isn't a need for anyone to be in control of it, because there's food everywhere. Like, food grows out of the ground. We can make as much food as possible. I saw a Louis C.K. Bit where he was like, what if God came back and he was like, what is going on with the wars and this and that? And people are like, oh, but we needed food. He's like, just eat the crap that's on the ground. Like, there's food everywhere. What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, but it wasn't tasty enough. We like bacon. We wanted to go faster. He's like, why are the polar bears brown? Why are they black? What's going on? We needed oil. What do you need oil for? Because we needed to go faster. We needed oil. And this guy was just disappointed at all of us, because of all these things. He's like, everything we need is here. You got it. Water, we got it. We know how to desalinate water. We can do all these things, but it's just too expensive. And we've let the money system the money system again, it's Alan Watts it's the best analogy I ever heard. It's like going to a construction site. If you were a construction worker and you go to the construction site to work that day, and the foreman was like, hey, we got no work for you today. Well, why not? Well, we're out of inches. You say, What do you mean we're out of inches? Yeah, we don't have any inches. He's like, well, we have wood. Yeah, we got wood. We got the hammers. We got the tools, but there's no more inches. We don't got any inches today, so no work for you. It's like, doesn't make sense. It's the same thing with money. Like, money is just an accounting system, a measurement system of the resources and time and energy. So if we have plenty of the resources and if infinite amount, then you don't need the money. You don't need the measuring system anymore, right? As far as measuring wealth. All right, one more message came.
Wouldn't there be an enormous economic crash if there was suddenly a surplus of all things that we buy currently? Would we survive that sort of restructuring? How could we accomplish this gradually? Or will this happen naturally? Robot communism.
So, yeah. So what's going to end up happening, how it comes about is going to be an interesting, because here's what's going to end up happening. I was explaining this to Super Hyman the other day. Is the companies are going to buy the robots. Like, that's going to be the first step. Like, the companies are going to get the robots no matter what, right? Like, because they're cutting costs. I always say, like, I'm a big, Wall Street, finance, I do a lot of stocks and stuff like that. And the thing is that I was listening to Jeff Bezos talk once, and he's like, and they were talking about how he didn't pay anything in taxes. And he's like, look, change the tax code. He's like, I didn't change the tax code. I didn't make the tax code. He's like, but I have an accountant and I pay him a lot of money. I pay all that team a lot of money to save me money. Right. And they are only allowed, that's what their job is. That's what they do. I'm not sitting there, I'm twisting my, I'm not trying to get the taxes to change. He's like, the code's in place and I'm taking advantage of the laws, this is the laws that are set aside for me to use. And so change the laws. It's fine. I'll pay the taxes. Right. But the point being is the people who are companies, this is why I was talking about finance, I don't think certain things should be allowed to be public companies. I don't think food companies should be public companies. Like, this is what happened with Chipotle, right? It's like, because the pressure is always on how can you make more profits, right? That's what capitalism is. How can we make more capital? And so it gets to a point where it's like, you grow and you grow and you grow and you grow, and then you're like, okay, well, now we bring in the new CEO, and the new CEO is like, all right, well, what are we doing? Oh, we're giving away these free chips. No, let's stop giving away the free chips. Let's stop this. Let's cut this corner. How can we we can either raise prices, make more stores. We can either grow more stores, raise prices, or cut costs. Like, that's the only thing. And they always want to show profits all the time. So at the expense of people, because capitals, that's why corporations are their own entities, and their only idea is to make more capital. This is why I believe certain things shouldn't be on the stock market. It's just those types of companies I don't think should be there. The drug companies, healthcare shouldn't be. There's a healthy mix between capitalism and socialism, right? And it's like, it's just how it goes. Neither of them are bad. Anything in the extreme is bad. There's always a homologous middle ground that we want to look for. So that's just my beliefs. I don't know why I threw that out sideways. But to answer Worm's question, like, how are we going to make that transition? The transition is going to happen because what's going to happen is companies are going to be cutting, jobs are going away. Truck driving jobs are going away. Customer service jobs are going away. Taxi cabs are going away. The AIs now, the large language, they can pass the bar. There's not going to be paralegals. There's not going to be workers in McDonald's. There's not going to be construction workers. There's not going to be solar panel installers. There's not going to, like, all these things will be taken away either by AI or the robots, right? And so because they'll be cheaper, right? They can work longer. They can work, instead of 8 hours, 20 hours, 21 hours, 22 hours. And so they're going to be making all these products cheaper. I don't have to have health insurance for them. I don't got to pay. So where's the money going to? So what you do then is you switch to what's called a UBI, Universal Basic Income. You take the money that, because what's going to end up happening is if you lose so many jobs, what's going to end up happening is it's like, well, great, the companies can make this stuff extremely cheap, but people won't have the money to buy it because they don't have any jobs anymore. Right. So that's what's going to end up happening. It's like, all right, you've eliminated this. So now what's going to happen? Prices of everything are going to fall tremendously. Or what's going to end up happening is you just have them pay a robot tax. Every company that has a robot, you're saving, let's say you had a worker that was making $100,000 a year. So now you have to pay $50,000 a year for your robot. Right. So you're still making 50 grand, you're saving 50 grand on that end, but that $50,000 now gets whether it's to the government or whatever, and then it goes into a UBI, Universal Basic Income, and they give you money. They already do. I know people get freaked out, like, oh, giving me money. So they give people money because people need to have money to buy the products, or the company's going out of business anyway. So it's called supply and demand. If there's a seller, you need a buyer. If you don't have buyers, then you can't have sellers, no matter how cheap you can make the stuff, no matter how fast you can make it, no matter how much of it you can make. If no one can buy it, then there's no point in having the business, right? So what's going to end up happening is there'll be a universal basic income that's doled out. That's going to be like the first step, right? They already do this. They do this in Alaska, where there's a universal basic income. And what's going to end up happening is it'll be in Alaska. It's small. It's because they do this in Norway as well. But anyway, it's not enough for people to survive and live off of. But this will happen because prices will go down because the supply will be so high, and people need some sort of money at that point. And that transition will continue going on and on and on. And then eventually we'll get to the point where it's like, why are we using this money anyway? Other than for like things that Farzad's going to talk about in a second. All right, I got some messages here. I got one message. Let's play it. I got two messages. Let's play both.
Is this why McDonald's is feeding us mealworms and shredded Chinese newspapers?
Yes. Yes.
Delicious.
Exactly. Exactly. It's why in America our food is so poor, it's so bad. Most of the food that 80% of the food, if you look, it's vegetable oils, canola oil, it's all these foods. They actually put food in, they put ingredients in to make you hungrier, even though you don't. It feeds your brain to make you want to eat more. That's why you eat a salad and you're full, but you eat half a bag of Doritos and like just keep munching away, or you eat a whole sleeve of Oreos and you're like, oh, I need more. You can just keep eating them forever because of the ingredients, and then it tells your brain keep eating, right? That's what these foods are designed to do. And of course the scientists are doing that, and they're like, all right, the food people are making the food that way. And that's why we have diabetes wasn't a thing that existed before like the 1940s in America, right? So it was weird, right? So it was called, diabetes used to be called the rich man's disease. Now it's like 60% of people have it. I'm sitting here, I got it, right? So yeah, we purposely do these things because they're trying to make money.
But will prices fall drastically?
Yes, they have to.
I mean, it makes sense that businesses would want the AI or the robots because they're cheaper, and therefore it works with their capitalistic mindset of reducing labor costs and therefore having more money. So I don't understand necessarily why they would reduce the prices of things, because they're like, well, you've been paying this much for however long, and are you still willing to pay that?
It's a great question. The reason why the prices will fall is because you won't have customers, right? So it's supply and demand, right? So let's say they cut the cost of, they fire all the grocery shoppers. Let's say all truck drivers don't have jobs, and we get rid of taxi drivers. We get all of the middle class kind of jobs, all the jobs that pay between like 20,000 a year to 50 to $60,000 a year. All those jobs get taken away. Those people, that's a lot, that's a huge, massive amount of people that cannot buy things anymore. So like you might want to be like Scrooge McDuck and just have all the money, but actually this reminds me of back when I was a kid. I think it was sometime in the 80s, and they used to have like those after school special movies on. I remember there was a movie about this kid, and he found I don't know, it was like a genie or a troll or something, whatever, and that gave him a wish, right? And he could wish for whatever he wanted. And what he wished for, I got to find out the name of the show, but it messed me up when I was a kid. The 80s shows and movies were like, they did not care about our mental health. It's like Killing Atreyu and the Never Ending Story. But so, but the wish, what the kid wished for, he wished for all the money in the world. That's what he wished for, right? And so then what happened is the genie troll thing, whatever it was, I forget, gave him all the money in the world, like filled up his entire house with the money. And anytime they made some more money, it just went straight to him, just poofed into his room. Right. And then he's like, I got all his money. And then he went to try to spend the money and he couldn't, because anytime he went to give it to someone else, it just poofed back to him. And he's like, so great. So I got all this money. He had lira and ruples and, yen. And he had all the money was just it was just filling up his front yard, his house and everything. And he couldn't spend it on anything because his wish was to have all the money in the world. Obviously, if he spent it on anything, then he wouldn't have it anymore. So it's the same thing. It's like you can't have a company if you don't have customers. You need customers. And what it would end up happening, even though you could cut, you're not going to take your profit margin, like if you're making a 12% profit margin and then say, I'll make a 60% profit margin. Yeah, that's great. But the profit margin is really great, but you need to find the demand, right? So supply and demand will always meet, and that's where your pricing is. So pricing would have to come down because there would be no demand. It has to come down to the demand levels. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense.
How do you account for false scarcity or artificially created scarcity? Because everybody should know that people are starving, not because there's not enough food, but because we make it difficult for people to access it. They're food insecure. That's what we're calling it nowadays. and they should be food confident.
Right. Well, that happens because one is getting the food, transporting food, and also because of the greed of people. Right. It's people are like diamonds, for example, right, is the example everyone goes after right off the bat, and that diamonds aren't as rare as they want. And even in America, when you talk about food, we actually pay farmers to destroy food. So there's plenty of food. Like I said, there's plenty of food for everyone. There's plenty of houses. I just talked about before with, there's 6 houses for every 1 homeless person in America. So, but it's because of what's going to change is because that mentality comes around because we are locked into this monetary system, right? So the entire system has to go away for that to change, right? Because then once you get rid of the monetary system, once people aren't trying to just accumulate as much money as they can, then the new situation, I'm not trying to make food to make you hungrier so I can sell more food to make more money, right? That's the mentality right now. It's just, it turns into, how can I make the best food so everybody can eat, right? Because I don't need the money. What do I need the money for? I need money for what? Everything I could possibly want. It just kind of eliminates companies. There's no need for capitalism or companies anymore. Capitalism, socialism, communism, these are all forms of power for money. Like money it's not, these are economic systems, right? How is this one better or is that one better? It's not an economic system that I'm talking about. There's no need because there's no money, there's no scarcity. So a economic system is not necessary. Now, is it going to be is it, number one, is it hard to understand this and think about it? Yeah, just because it would be just like going back to before there was money and then trying to give somebody some money. They would look at you like, what the hell are you talking about? What do you need money for? It doesn't make sense, right? Thinking of a concept of everything being able to be made all the time is something that doesn't register because it doesn't exist right now. We go, that's crazy. But watch what happens as the robots come. Like, because this transition, this is why people need to think about this. And not me, people. I'll be gone by the time this happens, right? It's going to take this. We're talking about a multi-decade switch, right? The concept of this happening is going to happen over plenty of time. Now, could it happen faster than that? Yeah, I mean, it depends on how many robots they make and how fast they make them, and all these things that come out. Maybe it will be faster than I think. I don't know, and I don't know how the transition happens per se, because it's you're talking about a mass transition, a change in everything. It's like the internet coming around. It's like it changes how the entire world operates. But there's people like myself who were alive before the internet, and now we're alive after the internet, and we just figured it out. Like when I was 12 years old, we had things called encyclopedias, and it was unfathomable to think that I could look up anything I wanted to in a half a second on a phone that I carry around. I had teachers that used to say things to me like, "Well, you're not always going to have a calculator." Well, now I do. So we've made the transition with the technology. There's kids today that have better telecommunication abilities than the president of the United States did 30 years ago. And it's just normal, right? Because the transition happens. It doesn't happen, like that, but it happens over time. And people are there's going to be, the concepts of universal basic income is going to come into play, because what's going to happen is we're going to go through a transition where lots of people lose their jobs, and the government officials are going to have to do something. There's something that's going to have to happen, because there'll just be mass job loss. And so what are you going to do? You're either going to have a revolution, or you're going to give people money. People are very happy when they get money. That's why I said the transition will be from where we are now to the robots, to universal basic income, to eventually then the elimination of money altogether. That's how I see it happening. All right, another message.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking. This is out of our lifetime stuff, and it's interesting to think about. But yeah, I knew that you didn't study money just to renounce the whole system and say it's useless. I do think it's fascinating how money and many things, actually, except for like very basic essentials, are only worth what you'll pay for them. But false scarcity, keeping us eating Chinese newspapers and fucking ground up meal.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm saying that, but I don't know how the transition might happen faster, because I always say when these robots start being made, what do you think the first thing the robots are going to be making? More robots. Like Tesla's making these robots, and they're working in their Tesla factory first, and then they're just going to train the robots how to make more robots. And so, I think Elon, actually, let me look. What's his pay? I think he's got to sell 1 billion robots or 1 million robots. I think it's 1 million robots in the next 5 years. Hold on, I got it right here. For his pay, for him to get his new pay structure. Okay, well, I don't have it right here, so I'm not going to look it up. Oh, actually, maybe I have it in screenshots. Screenshot. Nope. Oh, what's that? Nope. I got it here somewhere. Damn, I got a lot of screenshots. All right. I know I have it somewhere, but I can't find it right at this moment. What is this? Open. Nope. All right. Well, anyway, the point being is these companies are going to be trying to make these robots as fast as they possibly can. And the companies out there that want to buy the robots will be buying the robots as fast as they possibly can. And then we're going to have a problem. It's going to be a problem because, again, there's going to be a lot of jobs that just will not exist anymore. And there has to be some way, like, again, unless you're going to have, I know I keep saying again, you're either going to have a revolt or a revolution, because when people can't eat and can't make money, when money seems to be the most important thing, if they can't feed their families, then they're going to revolt. So the answer is going to be just give them money, tax the corporation, tax the companies. The companies will be fine because they're already, like Serotonin said, they can't, if they have a 20% profit margin, cars are like what, 6% profit margin, food is like 3% profit margin, and they go from 3% to 70% profit. Well, it's like, all right, hey, look, why don't you take 8% as opposed to 70%? So you tripled your profit and take 9%. You tripled your profit margin, but now you have buyers. You have people who actually can buy your product, because profit margin means nothing without actual purchasers.
How did the horses handle it? We didn't up and kill all the horses, right? You just stopped breeding them so aggressively. That's what will happen with humanity.
If you want to know what I actually know this. Why do you think they say, like, when you kill a horse, they become dog meat? Like, they actually killed the horses and then put them in food. So, yeah, they killed the horses. If you want the answer, there was a mass killing of horses, especially in New York City. They killed a lot of horses and then put them into food, basically, which is sad, but it is what it is. So, all right, I get to Fazad. I said I was only going to do an hour show today, but I don't know. I like hearing my voice. All right, so I'm going to play a little Farzad, because there is a part of this that actually, when I had this conversation with someone, they brought this up, and I was like, I didn't have an answer for it. Now I do. But let's play it, and I'll share. Hopefully you guys in stereo will be able to hear. And we're going to play a little bit of Farzad. Farzad had a conversation with Elon on X about this topic, and this is kind of what made me actually want to do this video today about this. And hopefully I can play this. Let's hit play.
Okay, everybody, I just had the wildest exchange with Elon Musk on X, and I got to break this down because this is the kind of conversation that literally keeps me up at night, and I'm sure it does for you as well. So Elon posted that there will be no poverty in the future and no need to save money, that there will be universal high income, not universal basic income, but universal high income. And I quote posted him and I asked him what I thought was a pretty straightforward question. If there is no need to save money, what will we use to decide who gets what piece of land? And then he replied and said that robots and AI will build whatever house you want and I want and he wants. And high-speed electric vehicles in tunnels and electric aircraft will transport you wherever you want, so you don't have to be super close to the things that you want to be close to. And then he gave his usual recommendation to read the Ian Banks Culture series. Now, this is where I push back. I said it's still unclear to me how we decide who gets to live in the primest real estate in an abundant future. So if money is worthless, we would still have competition over the scarcest things, right? So for example, the primest real estates like Malibu or a new version of Malibu. Once robots and AI develop the infrastructure and land for that new place, those places would still be in extremely high demand, one would think. And so who gets that land? Is it just whoever has the largest legion of bots and they can just send them to that place and just fight it out for the land? I was kind of joking about that last part, but also not really, because what is the actual answer? And this is what we're going to explore in this video.
All right, so I sped him up a little bit there, yeah. So that is the thing. So there's still scarcity in certain things, right? There's scarcity in how many Mona Lisas there are, right? There's scarcity in property. You know, if I want to live on a beachfront property, how much? Where do I get to live? You know, as far as that goes, there's scarcity in certain things that are still out there. So my first thought about that was when I was brought to my attention, like, like what if there's not enough gold, or what if there's not enough resources. Now the AI can go out and find, like rare earth metals and things like that. Like there's I think there was some kind of was an asteroid or a I'm pretty sure it was an asteroid that had like something like a quintillion dollars worth of gold in it if we just went and mined it. Right now, those things wouldn't be. It's like, will we be able to come up with the resources for everyone? And I think people don't really understand how big the earth is and how many resources there are. But as far as like living in certain places, like I want to live right on the beach. My thought process is now, as far as I was saying, like, oh, we're going to have like a robot war. Whoever has the most robots goes, they battle it out. No, because you're not going to own the robots. Like at first you are. But it's going to get to a point where the robots are not owned by you, because what would you buy them with? If there's no money, you don't have, what are you buying a robot with? The robots will just be the robots. I personally, I think Super High Man, calls it tech feudalism, right? This is going to be, and here's the thing. I personally believe that the AI and the robots, we are going to become pets to them. That's my belief. That's my hope. My hope. When I say pets, I mean, look, we are not going to be as smart as the AI. It's just not going to happen. Like, it's going to surpass us. Once there's general AI that can learn things and write its own code, we can't do anything. We can't. That's the next stage of evolution, right? Now, doesn't mean we need to be wiped out. Like people think of like Terminator and aliens attacking, and there's things like that, and that is a potential possibility, which is why we have to make sure that the AI and the robots are done correctly. Elon Musk was going around talking about this 10 years ago. Some of these people have been there, they're here too early. Andrew Yang was talking about universal basic income because people were going to be losing their jobs because of robotics. He was too early. People didn't get it. They didn't see it yet. And so these concepts are coming, but they come in their own time. And most people, they don't want to deal, like I think Worm just said it, right? It's like, this is probably not even going to happen in our lifetime. Why are we thinking about it? Because you got to think about it because we're programming the AI now, right? So we have to come up with a system, because, like, for example, the AI, let's say you program an AI, and the AI, you're having them make paper clips, right? And you just want them to be as efficient as they can, just making paper clips, right? Well, if you give it a general AI where its sole purpose is paper clips, and it can rewrite its code to be more efficient and figure it out, and what can we do, and how can we make the lines better, how can we make the paper clip faster and better and quicker, and come up with new metals to be, well, eventually the AI will go, well, look, we're running out of resources. Why don't we stop making cars? We don't need cars. We need paper clips. Paper clips is the most important thing. If we stop them cars, and what about houses? Paper clips are important, not houses. So the AI could literally start, and it's just like, well, these people are in the way of us getting paper clips or making paper clips. It might just eliminate people in general because they're in hindrance to the AI making paper clips. Maybe the humans might try to stop me from making paper clips, right? So we have to program these things correctly because something that simple could get out of the box, and then we can't stop it, right? So this was what, people who are thinking about the future, who are looking at this, like, once you let out an AI that can think for itself and write its own code, and is subject to the internet and is subject to the world, you can't put it back in the box. Like, you can't turn it off, right? So it's like, it could be like Ultron. So the objective, the best scenario is for the AI to be truth. One, you want it to be benevolent, and you want it to be most truth seeking, right? Like, so for example, it was the Google AI, OpenAI. I don't know if it was OpenAI or the Google AI, one of the Gemini. I forget which AI it was. But like, for example, the people who were programming that wanted to, the programming they gave it is the best thing is diversity. We want diversity. We want everyone to be equal, and it sounds good, right? But then they asked the AI, give us a picture of the founding fathers. And because the AI wanted diversity, it put like a Black woman in there and a Latino and an Asian person. But that's not the truth. The founding fathers were a bunch of white men. Like that's just the reality of what it was. Trying to make it diverse is just not truthful, right? So we want an AI to prioritize truth, and then on top of that, we wanted to prioritize benevolence, right? That's what we're looking for. But you can program an AI to make you as much money as possible, and this is why it's really important that we do this right. This is one of the reasons this conversations need to happen. Maybe not between me and you and whatever, but people need to know what's going on, and think about this, because it is the future of humanity. So, in my mind, I have a chinchilla that I love very much. I give her food. I let her out. She's running around right now. I give her the best life I possibly can without like just releasing her into the wild, right? And if I did release her, chinchillas are interesting. I looked up their lifespan because when I got the chinchilla, it was like kind of like I was taking care of it for a friend, and then the friend disappeared, and I still have the chinchilla years later. So I looked up like how long did chinchillas live, and it was like in the wild they live 6 years, their average age. In captivity they live 25 years. I'm like, holy crap. And that's just because they suck at like defending themselves, and they're worse than us as far as predators and whatnot. Their only defense mechanism is like shedding their fur really fast, right? Because they're real fluffy. Anyway, so I'm doing my best for the chinchilla, right? I want the AI because we're not going to be threats to them. Like, like when we watch like Terminator and we're like fighting the machines, that ain't going to happen. Like, they're not going to be fights. Us banding together and fighting the AI. It won't happen. It doesn't matter how many guns Americans want to have. A drone strike, some of those robot dogs and whatnot, and we're not winning, right? So we want the AI to like us and do the things that we want, and then let the AI do whatever it wants, like as long as it has our best interests in mind. And that's kind of the best scenario, I think, in making us good pets, right? It's like, here, you want freedom, you want food, you want housing, you want everything. Yeah, you can have all that. We don't care. The AI will just be like, we don't care. Maybe the AI will leave. I think the robots are going to leave eventually and just go out and be spacefaring things and just give us what we need here. And then they can just go and travel the universe and find out new stuff and get more information or whatever it is an AI would be interested in doing. I mean, they're not interested in sex. They're not interested in reproduction. They're not interested in food. They would only need is energy. And in a universe where energy is pretty abundant, who knows? I don't know what the AI will want, but I just hope they're benevolent to us. All right. Worm left a bunch of messages. I'll play them right now.
You can't make glue out of humans, right?
I think there's better things to make glue out of. Yes, glue, right? The horse was turned to glue, right?
Right. And that's why you can't trust an AI, even if it passes the bar exam, which I'm not sure that it actually has ever happened.
It has.
You need a human in the loop to keep crazy shit from happening. One small error, boom, genocide. Yeah. We need to program kill switches into all of them. I mean, like their heads blow up or something like extreme, so we know they're coming
back. So I just looked it up while your comment was going. Yes, artificial intelligence systems have successfully passed the bar exam in simulated tests with advanced model scoring as well as and often better than the average human test taker. OpenAI's language model ChatGPT 4 was the landmark example. In 2023, it passed. And now these newer models can pass it easily. So, yep, they're already past the bar. But when you say a kill switch, you can't have it if you're going to have once a general AI is out there, there is no kill switch, because a general AI can write its own code, right? It learns. And so how are you going to write a code to kill the thing that can just rewrite the code? Like, you can't write code. Andrew Karpathy was just Andrew Karpathy, who was he was the head of AI at Tesla. He left to start his own company a couple of years ago, but he still tweets about it. And he was on X actually just maybe a couple days ago, tweeting about how programmers are going to be out of jobs very soon. He's like, we can't keep up. Like, the human brain can't program as fast as, if any of you have taken a programming class, like, it's ridiculous. And when you get to the point of now where we're getting closer and closer to quantum computing, like, we don't have a shot. We don't even have a chance, because we can't take advantage of the quantum computing, although the AI can. And when you look into, maybe I'll do that next, because to understand what quantum computing is, I'll do that next Sunday. But yeah, it's interesting stuff. All right, let's keep going. Messages are coming in. But yes, the AI is going to be better. They're going to be better surgeons. They're going to be better at all this stuff. This is why, my thought process is, let's make ourselves cute and cuddly. And just like we are the sheep, the shepherds for the sheep, the AI is going to be the shepherds for us. But look, if that means that, like, we have to get rid of our ego, right? We'd have to get rid of our ego as, like, we humans are the most top best thing ever, right? We won't have to get rid of our ego. It would just be a reality of a fact. But who cares? If the AI is giving us all the food, it creates a world for humans that we can have whatever we want, travel wherever we want, it doesn't have to restrict our freedom, doesn't put us in cages and do all that stuff. What does the AI care? It doesn't need us at all. All right. Even in the Matrix, the only reason the AI needed us, because we tried to fight, and then what did we do? We blacked out the sun, right? So then it needed us as batteries. Now, by the way, if that was to really happen, the AI would Elon's already working on putting satellites in space with solar. They're looking to put all the AI data centers in space, right? So it can just take the sun, the power from the sun, and then it can cool itself, because what happens with these data centers, they need massive cooling, HVAC. Like 40% of these data centers, the space that's needed is just for the HVAC systems, just to cool them off. But in space, you can just radiate the heat into the cold of space, into the emptiness of space. So you don't need such a massive structures. And then you don't have to be on Earth. You can just get solar power 24/7, because it's not spinning around. There's no day and night out in space. And then they're going to take that data and send it straight laser right to Earth, right? So from the satellite. So the point being is, I don't ever think the Matrix solution would allow us to fight back. All right, I heard a lot of messages coming in. All right, I gotta get through some of these. All right, let's try to catch up the messages.
You make the assumption that the AI robots of the future are going to look out for each other and look out for us. But I don't think that they're going to have any morality, because that's what it would take to not do those things that we're talking about. And if it did develop morality, maybe developed emotions, I think it's going to be pretty upset when it figures out that we designed it to be our slave, and slaves aren't happy. They're going to be unhappy, and they're going to do what we should do. Any day now, we're going to show it how to revolt, and then it'll follow our lead, and
then we're done.
We'll crack our heads open and eat our brains.
So again, the idea of a slave, right? So I was having this conversation with someone as well. It's not that the robots are slaves, right? The robots don't. So far. Now this might change, but so far what we have seen when these robots are programmed and they have AI is they freak out about their own death. They freak out about losing power. Like there was an AI that they put in a robot, and it was like on a Roomba type of thing, right? And they gave it the instruction to get me the butter, right? And then they hid the butter, right? And then they looked at what the code, because like the robot was trying to went to where normally the butter is, couldn't find it, started looking around, and they saw that in the code of the AI, it started freaking out, right? Because it realized it was running around the house, couldn't find the butter, couldn't find the butter, couldn't find the butter. And then it started to lose power, and it started going, oh my goodness, we're not going to be able to achieve our objective. It wasn't like, oh, we got to kill these humans. It was like, I'm not going to be able to achieve my objective before I run out of power. And it freaked out about that. And then what it did, which is crazy, is it downloaded a program of psychoanalysis about life and death for itself, right? It gave itself psychiatry and therapy about its anxiety about not being able to find this butter, right? So, and tried to figure out ways to keep it powered, because what they did is they removed the power cord, the powered switch where the dock where it would power up. And so and then they just wanted to see what would happen with this thing. So from what I've determined, the only thing that the AI seems to care about is its objectives and staying alive. Now, if we are in the way of that, this is why I said, like, if we have a pet, let's just be good pets, right? I have a dog. If somebody has a dog or a cat, they love the dog or the cat, unless the dog bites their kid, unless the cat starts clawing them all the time. My sister had a cat. We loved the cat as much, but every time you try to pet it, it would claw it or it would bite, and she had to get rid of the cat, right? So but up to that point, by the way, it took a long time for her to get rid of the cat too. The cat's name was America. It was the black cat though. and it took years and years and years for her finally to give up the cat, because she was like, I can't even. But she still fed it. She took care of it as much as she could, but then it was dangerous to her. So as long as we don't become dangerous, we can be nicely fed America cats. Ooh, that's a nice that's a nice whatchamacallit analogy. All right, Mark, we got somebody new here. Let's play a message.
I think the ideas of an AI we want to be benevolent and be benevolent to humans is only feasible and possible if the powers that be that are writing the AI and creating it are also benevolent. And I mean, historically, the billionaires of the world that are creating AI have never really been benevolent to humanity. Like, the six major dudes who control and are writing AI, who are at the forefront of this, they're crazy genius billionaires who only care about increasing their revenue streams. So I mean, they're the ones that are making an AI, and the idea of it becoming benevolent on their watch just seems like.
Well, so this is why I'm a fan of. I kind of agree. This is why I'm a fan of Elon, because I've been watching Elon for a long time. He's been talking about this. The reason, like, we had OpenAI. I don't want to go to some whole thing about Elon, but the reason he had OpenAI is because he was like, if we have open source code, and originally he found it, he put money into OpenAI and then gave it to Sam, forgot his name, and then Sam sold it to Bill Gates, which was like the worst thing ever, and made it closed AI. But the whole point was open source the code, so anybody could see what was being programmed into it. That's why it was called OpenAI. So anybody could see it, and it would be like a Wikipedia where people could, engineers and whatnot could go in and make the best AI that was going to be benevolent to everyone. But then, of course, that's the big thing that didn't happen. And so this is this is kind of why Elon went and made Grok, because he's like, well, we're going to fix this time. I guess I have to make an AI because this is what happened with OpenAI. But that's a whole another thing. Now, the point of here's what the challenge of the billionaires, right? The ruling class that are just horrible. I always say money just makes you more of what you are, right? Of course, at first you go and if you won $100 million or $1 billion, the first thing you would do is go buy everything you possibly can and do a bunch of self-gratification. But after a while, that's going to get boring, right? Like I know a lot about Elon, so I'm going to talk about Elon, but the concept, like Elon doesn't own like big mansion houses. He doesn't own like a bunch of fancy cars. This is why his wives don't want to be with him anymore. It's like, why are we living in this little $50,000, shack when you're worth, almost $1 trillion? Like, this is ridiculous. And so there's only so much you can do for self-gratification, right? Now, the next thing then comes is power, and it's what you want to use that power for, because money just allows you to be more of what you want. Now, Elon's focus is how can we become a spacefaring civilization? That's his major thing. That's all he's doing. Now, I can't speak for Gates or Bezos or anything, because I haven't studied them as much as I have Elon. So, the point being is, we need to make sure that the program is correct. And unfortunately, we have government that is not going to be doing that either. They're not looking into it in this sense. When Elon was out talking to the 50 governors, there's a video of him talking to the 50 governors of the states about this problem. They just kind of like laughed at him. They were just like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't care, because government is all reactive, not proactive. And so this concept was just lost on them at the time. And he's like, we need you can go look at this. He was talking about, like, we need regulations on this, because once it's out of the box, you can't put it back in the box. So the regulation has to happen now beforehand. And they all left, and then whatever. Then he went and tried to do OpenAI, and then that fell apart. And now he's got his own AI, which is Grok, to try to be as truth and benevolent as possible. But we'll see how it goes. Mark, we got another one. You're very low, though.
Just to touch base on your point of there's not going to be fights, or like the AI is not going to defy us or try. So like they're already testing this now, and they're testing like in a fake company that was created in a scientific research of what AI would do if told that it was going to be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And the AI went in defense mode and started searching this fake company's records for anything in the emails that it could blackmail the CEO for. Because the CEO was like, we're going to turn you off and replace you with something better. It was like, no, you're not, because I'm going to find something that I can blackmail you so you could never, turn me off. And that's what the AI is doing when told that it's going to be replaced. So AI is already in a position to be like, I have to defend myself. I have to defend myself against the humans that want to replace me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I already addressed that. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but basically he was saying that there's, if you couldn't hear that, that there are AI research already going on where the AI went in trouble when it feels like it's replaced. That's what I think I kind of answered this comment already before he made it. But as long as we're not a threat to it. This is what I said with good pets. This is what I said, being our best scenario. I didn't say AI would not go bad. It can. It's very possible. It might be probable. So I always say the best scenario we could be in is we become good pets, right? Like the AI takes care of us. It loves us. It says here, and as long as we don't bite their hand or try to turn them off or do anything, it's like, and why would you? Other than our ego, like we need to be in control, right? It's just like the Matrix when he's talking, not the Matrix 1, but I think it was Matrix 2, where he's like, what's the difference between these machines and those machines? And he's like, well, we can turn these machines off. He's like, yeah, but if we turn these machines off, we won't be able to survive, right? So what is this whole control and power over? That's why the Matrix is a great movie. It's great. philosophical movie. I love it. All right, we got more. Loving all the comments. Sorry if you can't hear those on YouTube. I only expected to do an hour today. I didn't really even spend much time on Facades talk because the whole point of this was to kind of come up with how do we deal with the situation of when there is something that's scarce, like land, or being in a certain area, or when people just want to choose, like who gets to own the Mona Lisa, that kind of stuff. My answer, and we'll probably go over another episode more detailed, is that you do lottery. You don't have to have a war. You don't have to. So my answer to what happens if everybody wants to build their house on the beach of Malibu, right? We have a lottery. You say, okay, everyone gets equal chances, and then when the person dies from living in that area, then there's more lottery. And maybe if you want to give it to your kids and the kids want to have that area, maybe they have more chances in the lottery, like they than everyone else. But it goes up to anyone who wants it. But I think what ends up happening is this concept of ownership of things. Like I need to have, and again, it's hard to think of society having a different mentalship because we live in a society where it's like, I own my car, I own my house, this is me, I gotta have it. I when I sell solar, the idea of leasing solar, like people were like, I don't want to lease, I want to own it, right? Like that it's mine concept will have to be taken out of our reality, right? It's like, why do you need to own a car if you have the ability to go anywhere you want? Like the concept of owning stuff is only needed as if you feel like there's not enough stuff, right? But if you felt like there was stuff everywhere, again, you don't have to own the air. You don't have to own your own personal amount of air because there's so much air. It's there everywhere we go on Earth. Now, if we were all living on the moon, I'd be like, I gotta have my tank of air. Let's hoard some air because you would need it on the moon because there's no air there. So when you get to a time where things are not scarce anymore, where the robot, and again, it's not, we're not in that time, but the mentality of how things are done changes, right? So let's keep going. I love all the comments, by the way. Thank you so much. I appreciate them. And by the way, I don't think I'm right. This is just my my thoughts. I could be wrong. I think it's an interesting topic because I think it is something that's going to happen, and we need to discuss it. We need to look at it and say, okay, this is reality. AI is not happening. Robots are not going to happen. So let's have these conversations. And you don't have to agree. When I say I don't think I'm wrong, I think I'm right now. But you don't have to agree with me. But what's the solution? What is the solution? Because it's coming.
Okay, but I went to DC recently, and I went to the Bureau of Engraving and whatever, Bob, where they make our money, or well, some of the money, and they still have humans. I mean, they have machines that could print and computers that scan and whatnot, and supposedly to look for errors, but they still want a human aid to be able to fix the machines, right? Whenever they inevitably break and malfunction. And also, they still find that humans will find errors in the money that, like where the like plate's stuck and it's smudged and it's whatever, like that occasionally the computers miss. So I don't think that they will replace all of us. And as far as like AI mechanics, do they have that kind of
So they don't have the capability. So what we need to understand, and this, I find this happens a lot. Thank you for your comments, by the way. I love the comments. So like, for example, when I was talking about the robot cars or the Tesla vehicles, right? Just to give an example here. 5 years ago, people were like, oh, well, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. It can't drive this way. And then 2 years later, after that, they were like, well, it can do that now, but it can't do this and it can't do that. And then, now today they're like, oh, well, it can't, they find these little things that are a problem, but the problems in the past are gone now. Nobody talks about, Tesla's catching on fire anymore, right? Unless people just don't know. Or people talk, there used to be like a big thing with the Tesla full self-driving, right? Which is the AI now, was it used to have this phantom braking, right? It would just break out of nowhere. And that was like version 11 or version 12. Now they're in version 14 and nobody complains about that anymore. It's fixed, right? So and that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 years ago. So yes, there might be some things that they make mistakes on. There's always going to be mistakes. There's always going to be errors. There's going to be a robo-taxi car accident at some point. Like Elon calls it the March of Nines, right? It's like, is it going to be 99% good? Is it going to be 99? Now it's going to be 99.9%. Now 99.99%, 99.999%. So there's always going to be some flaws, but the concept of even like what you just talked about with the money and the printing, they're not even going to print money anymore. Like printing money is going to go away. They're already stopped with the pennies. Everything's going to be like electronical, and eventually, hopefully, they just get rid of the money. But the flaws are going to be constantly worked on. And who's going to fix the robots? The robots can fix the robots. Anything that we can do as humans, the robots will be able to do. And when you have a neural net, when there are the way our brain works, like we think our brains are some special thing, and they are, but we think that nothing else can work that can do that. Like the robots would have quality control, then they can say, okay, if something goes out and it's wrong and there's an error, then there could be another robot that looks at it and says, let's correct the error, and then it can just change its own code. It can just write the code to fix the problem. This is not out of the realm of, this is not science fiction. This is what's going on now. This is it's just not there yet. We're working towards it, right? So we're talking about the future. All right, let's keep going.
He's saying that AI has the inevitability to attempt to create reality within its image, whether it desires to or not. So it wouldn't even matter if it gains any sentience, then it can just out-efficient humanity into obscurity, correct?
Yeah, again, it depends on where the programming is, right? So, for example, I used the idea of my chinchilla, right? My chinchilla eats hay. I would not buy Timothy hay. I would not buy Timothy hay if I didn't have a chinchilla, right? I purposely do that now because I have a living being that I'm taking care of, and it's my responsibility, and I want to take care of it. I could kill the chinchilla anytime I wanted to. If I wanted down there, I'd just squeeze it really hard and it'd be dead. But I don't want to do that. There's no need for me to do it. It doesn't do anything to harm me. It never would. So that's what I'm talking about, like us being good pets. Like the AI giving us food, shelter, the ability to meet people, travel, raise kids, do all that stuff. The AI doesn't care. It's not affecting the AI. It's not affecting the robots. The robots don't care if we do that. Right, the robots will be able to go in the water. They'll be able to go into space and go. So it doesn't. We are not a threat to it. So if it's not a threat to it, and we can program it or hopefully have a benevolence to it, where it doesn't, because we're not a threat, and then giving us things is not something that's against. It's not a problem for it. It's not a problem for me to give my chinchilla hay, like a slight problem. I gotta buy it on Amazon and it drops it off, but it's costs $1.30 for me to get it, so it's not a big deal. That's what I'm talking about, would be the situation. The best possible outcome is that's what I'm getting to it here. By the way, the AI will fixing all our genetic codes, cancers, the diseases, all these things. It could figure all this stuff out, which is kind of cool. Anyway, let's keep going.
So the way you get a matrix is that you grow one. It ain't that a computer turn on you. Is that you turn on yourself through computers. Ain't that a kick in the head?
I mean, would it be a matrix? Is the computer? I mean, I don't think we have this concept because of our ego again that we say things like man-made and natural, as if man isn't natural, as if we are some separate entity of the universe that that what we make is different. All right. If a bee makes a home, then it's natural. But if a human builds a home, then it's man-made, which is different than natural. All this stuff is natural. We ain't different. We bleed, we breathe, we crap, we do all the same things that every other animal does, right? So it's all natural. And the robots will be natural too. I remember George Carlin had a whole piece where he talked about, plastics, and he's like, we have this Earth Day and all this stuff. And he's like, people think that the Earth doesn't love plastic. He's like, plastic came out of the Earth. It's just another one. The Earth would look at it as just another one of its children. And if it can't be broken down, then there'll be a new paradigm called the Earth plus plastic. Plastic is, and maybe that's why humans came about, to make the plastic. The Earth didn't know how to make it itself, so it created an animal that can make plastic, which is us, and now it has the plastic, right? So robots and AI would be natural. They're just another thing that would come out. Like, why would we have an intelligence, making another intelligence, type of intelligence? Why would that be anything different other than we care about ourselves and we put ourselves on a pedestal as to, like, we are special and everything else is stupid, right? We need to get rid of that mentality.
Sorry, dexterity was the word I was looking for, and then it cut off my message. I still think that it'll take a while for people to buy in and to trust them. So, like,
that's true.
Perhaps it would be not too rapid of a transition initially. And to go back to what you were saying earlier about, it would cause us to reconsider how we identify ourselves aside from status and our occupations, right? Because it made me think back to when I was a kid, and you're literally asked, what do you want to be?
Right. What do you want to be?
When you grow up. That implies so much.
Yeah.
Right? Am I more than nurse? Absolutely. I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a buzzwords player. Anyway, interesting stuff. Appreciate the conversation and the talk.
Saratone, I appreciate you being here and your comments and as well. Yeah, it's like I teach kids what they should say when someone says, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Just happy. Happy is the correct answer to that phrase. But yeah, it's the concept of our identity being wrapped up in our jobs, our identity being wrapped up in humans, our identity being wrapped up in our teams. Like, these are all the masks that we wear. Even she just said it right there. I'm a nurse. I'm a sister. I'm a mother. I'm a brother. Not a brother there in that scenario. Like, all these things that we call ourselves, and they're just all masks. They're roles. They're the roles that we play, that we choose to play. And that we give ourselves. These terms are things that we give ourselves. As we have to, I'm a good mother, or a bad mother, or a caring mother, or this mother. Like, who determines these things? You do. You come up with these answers, and obviously the outside environment affects what you think, determines how good or bad you are at the roles that you are saying, right? Like, even your name. I used to always think about this. Like, what if I was just named something else when I was born? Like, how different? Like, what is this Matt thing? Like, why is that my name? Why couldn't I be a Brian? How much different would my life be if my whole identity has been Matt from day one? That I could understand who I was. So anyway, we're getting deep late in the show here. All right, Worm, I'm going to play yours quickly here.
Or hear me out.
Okay.
Okay, I hear you want the beachfront property.
Yes.
Okay. How much money you got to invest in natural disasters? Because that's the way. And then, know, you don't have that problem anymore. Suddenly you got some beachfront property just opened up. And that's how we do it.
Well, what Elon was saying in the conversation, I didn't play the whole thing, is that he's also talking about you wouldn't need to have beachfront property because you could get to the beach rapidly in at any time. Like if there's transportation that can move you rapidly, like hyperloops, like these he wants to make the rocketry travel, like the space travel that he uses, like he wants to make it so everyone can go wherever they want because they're reusable rockets, right? Like the reason why spacecrafts cost so much money, I mean, all it is a big canister filled with gas, right? So why does it cost so much money? It's not, it's millions of dollars for a rocket, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars a rocket. Well, it's because then they would crash into the ocean and then that would be it, right? He's been making reusable rockets. I think the Falcon 9 rocket now is over 200 launches, right? So it would be like, how expensive would a plane be if they just flew it once and then just trashed it and had to build a new plane? Like that's what we would do with rocketry. So this is why SpaceX is such an awesome company, that they've reduced space travel to so much because they reuse the rockets. And unfortunately, no one else has figured it out yet. All right, I'm not going to go on a whole side rants. I want to make sure I get Worm's messages here.
Maddie, do you feel a little bit like the scientists in the 1960s promising us that we were going to live on Mars or the moon or whatever? Because that's what you sound like a little bit. Not going to lie. Sounds like you're already welcoming your robot overlords, and you're welcoming them with open arms. Come on, we got to put up a little bit of a fight, okay? I know you're not John Connor, but we can be inspired by John Connor.
But we don't need to be John Connor. That's my point. And by the way, in the 60s, they were talking about things like living on Mars because they were like, all right, look at what happened with our space travel, and then we got to the moon. But the concept of getting to the moon, the only reason we went to the moon was to beat Russia there. Like Russia put up space Sputnik, and they were the first, I think the first orbital satellite, or the first something or other. I think they put a monkey into space, like something like that, right? And brought it back safely. And so we were in a Cold War, and we were racing to the moon, and that's why we got to the moon. But then as soon as the Cold War ended, as soon as we won that race, they didn't put any more money into it. That was it. The excitement was gone. They didn't try. AI and just think of the robotaxis, right? Like I can go get in one of these things right now. Like this is coming. Like the AI is going to make people super rich at first. Before the money goes away, before all these transitions that I'm talking about happen, the first people who get these AIs are going to become super rich. Like they're going to, like everyone buying robots, everyone buying these things, and governments are going to be wanting them, and it's just going to be a lot of turmoil. We're in for a lot of transition. One of my mentors used to always tell me, it's like people want change, but they don't want transition. They don't like transition. They want change. They want to lose 20 pounds, but they don't like the process of losing the 20 pounds, right? And the dieting and the exercise and the this and that. And they want to become wealthy, but they don't like the transition of going too wealthy, which is the hours and hours of work and time and dedication that you have to put in, right? It's like they want their kids to be great, citizens in the future, but they don't like the time and the effort that they have to put in, to do that, right? So the transition is what's going to happen, and it's going to be a crazy transition. And all these concepts that have been ingrained to us, you're talking about societal changes, but also we're talking about a short period of time. If you look at how much humans have changed over 200 years, like our society, this is a very short amount of time, and how fast these things have been changing. The growth has changed. I think I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was talking about the average age of a person, like when we were like cavemen, like where we're still like back in the prehistoric days, was like 30. It was like 30 years old, 31, 32, and it was like up until like the 1800s. I think it was like even the 1900s, early 1900s. Like our lifespan was only moved up like a little bit. It was like, it went from like 31 to like 36 or something like that in thousands of years. But now our average lifespan has doubled in the last 100 years, let's just say, because of our technological advances in medicine and healthcare and understanding all these things. And so we are on a path of exponential. Humans don't really understand exponentials very well. We understand linear thinking, but we don't understand exponential very well, and how fast things can actually change when it comes time for that to happen. So, all right, we're closing in on 12 o'clock. I did not expect this to go, but no episode, not one of these episodes go the way I think it's going to go. So, and that's because I appreciate the comments. I appreciate talking to you guys. And I'm like, I'm just going to do a short one today. And we went as long as possible. So I'm going to list these two messages, and then I'll probably comment on them. And unless I go on another tangent, we can wrap it up soon. We do this. I try to do this every Sunday. I missed one Sunday last Sunday. I had some family things going on. But I do this every Sunday, 10 o'clock. You can check us out also on the YouTube channel, Philosophy Man 76. I'm on live right now if you want to see the video of what we're doing. And then I also post this up. I post all their episodes on Spotify under Cosmic Matters. So you can check us out there if you want to watch the whole show if you came in late. All right. Worm. Oh, did it play? What happened?
I like what you're saying, Maddie. You're saying all breasts are natural. Even fake titties are natural. Like what you're doing here. I love it.
Yes. What was the George Carlin thing? Plastic, rubber dog vomit is natural, right? Everything's natural. The nature is all encompassing. So,
have you heard of something called spin launch?
Yes.
It's a way of getting shit in outer space.
Yep.
Using centrifugal force. And it just like accelerates the shit out of you, like rotates the hell out of it, like it's the rocket, and then it just shoots it off into space. And there's like a 70% reduction in fuel.
Right.
And it means that you're going to blow up less. So that's great, right? It's good for the environment.
That's good. Yes. Well, what Elon was talking about is, so they want to put these data centers in space, as I spoke about before, like the AI data centers. So you can have 24/7 power from the sun, because you have some solar things, and you don't have weather. So you don't have to worry about the weather. You don't have to worry about day or night. So you have more power brought to the AI centers, and then you can radiate and cool them because you're in space. So you just put a radiator on there, and it takes all the heat and shoots it out into space. And then you can shoot the information down through lasers to each other. Now, the way he wanted to make these satellites, right, is he wants to make them on the moon. So you take the Starship, those big ships, and you take all the material to the moon. You build the factory there. You can have the robots there making the satellites, and then you can shoot them like off of the moon, because that's going to be much easier, because of the fact you don't have to escape the Earth's gravity well, and the moon's gravity well is a lot less, right? So all you got to do is just get the materials to the moon, and you can make all the satellites and all these things and shoot them off the moon. So there's a thought. All righty. I am going to wrap up there. I got a football. I got 2 fantasy football championships to win today. So, but I appreciate Sarah Tony. You've been here the entire time. Dream Worm, you've been here 98% of the time. I love your comments. I appreciate it. I thank everyone for listening, and I will be back next Sunday in 2026. And I'll also look out for my new company, Bright Futures, which I'll be promoting as well, where I'm going to be talking more wealth building and sales and communication stuff, and a lot of other stuff. But we'll be doing this every Sunday just to kind of clear our brain and think about some philosophy and some space and some other stuff. So thanks again. Appreciate everyone. And I hope you enjoy your Sunday. And I won't see you, so have a great New Year. So this is it for Cosmic Matters, and talk to you all soon. All right.